powers must act together because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu.
Somewhere Europe has to grow out of the mindset that Europe's problems are the world's problems, but the world's problems are not Europe's problems.
चुन चुन करके हिसाब लेना ये मेरी फितरत है.
Why should it be a problem if I'm smart enough to have multiple options? You should be admiring me.
भारत झुकने वाला भी नहीं.
The rise of India will be determined by India. It will be determined by our strength, not by the mistakes of others.
The old order is not coming back. We shouldn't mourn it. Nostalgia is not a strategy.
Guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to talk about what will be the end goal or end game of the Iran war. It has started again. President Trump announced that he's bombing and this and that. And the man, I gotta give him this, that this man makes threats worse than ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, all that combined. I mean, even us, ISIS and Taliban don't make these type of threats the way this guy, President of the United States, does. But anyways, it started again, same old story. US bombing certain things, Iran bombing somewhere else, Israel is standing on the corner doing their Israeli things like propaganda and all that. But the question really is that what is the end game of this whole entire thing? See, if you want to understand this whole thing, then you'll have to understand the war, this whole war, from individual point of view. So when somebody says, when people talk about it, I mean, they talk about the whole entire thing together, all together, cumulative, then you don't really see the good picture. When you look at this thing from US point of view, what US objective is, what American objective is, what Israeli objective is, what Iranian objective is, when you look at it this way, then you understand it. Now, when you look at American objective with Iran when entering the Iran war was practically nothing. Now some of you will be like, how so? How so? Because go watch their speeches. Those were just randoms. Americans jumped into the war because Donald Trump's donors, they paid him the money. Those Israeli guys, they paid him the money. And he was ready. He was like, okay, let's go do it. Without even thinking what exactly he's going to achieve. His thought was simple, that just the way they used B-2 bomber last year, so they're just gonna be in and out type of situation. They will bomb and they will get out. So he didn't make much of it. What he didn't realize is that he not only he got paid by the donors, but also his Secretary of State is also an Israeli puppet. That's the reality of it. You don't believe me? Go check it out. You can look into it yourself. Okay. Now, this is nothing against Israel. This is not in favor of Iran or anything. I'm just giving you an analysis of this whole thing. So America's never had any objective here. No clear objective, no nothing. At this point, this is why they're just scrambling to do whatever to apply the pressure on Iran, or to make themselves somehow look good, or find an opportunity for face saving so that they can get out of it. That's the only goal right now Donald Trump has in mind. And after Lindsey Graham's death, this thing is going to become more scary for Donald Trump. Now comes the Israeli objective. This is where the key is. See, is for Israel, you have to understand this. Israel was formed among the wolves, okay, among the countries that never wanted Israel over there. When Roosevelt talked to Ibn Saud, then Ibn Saud also said that yes, we have full sympathy with the Jewish people and their the atrocities that they faced. But why don't you just create Israel by carving the country that actually did the atrocities on Jewish people? And I'm not saying this, these are all archived documents. You go read it. Meaning that what he was saying, that pick East Germany or West Germany and just create Israel there. Why do you want Israel here? What have we done? So Roosevelt got the message, and Roosevelt said that okay. And Roosevelt actually wrote a letter to Ibn Saud, and he said that he's not going to do that. He's not going to create Israel until Ibn Saud says so. But he never denied that it's not gonna happen or something. He just said that he's just gonna wait for Ibn Saud. So, anyways, but then Truman had some other plan, and Truman went against Saudi Arabia and created Israel and voted for it, actually, at least in the UN. Now, coming back to this whole thing, ever since Israel has just been in constant war. The 6 Day War. 6 Day War was because of the water that comes in from the Mount Hermon. Then Israel has been fighting this thing since then, and Israel has one problem. Israel just wants this whole thing to be under control. Under control, as in that the anti Israel activities either they minimize or they are manageable or totally end. So, the way I'm looking at it is that Israel's plan was to simply do something so that the regional economies, the economies that are dependent on oil, and they use this oil money to fund the anti Israel activities directly or indirectly. Saudis may say that they don't fund Israeli anti Israel activities. They may be saying it, but they even fund the anti American activities. So, what are you going to do about that? Okay, so they may say all these that, oh, we don't do any of that, but they know it. Same thing with Bahrain, Qatar, any of these countries. If you are harboring all those people, all those organizations, you're funding them, you're harboring them, you're giving them safe haven, then yeah, of course, you're doing something. But, anyways, so Israel's objective was simple, to do something so that these activities can be stopped. And Israel is very well aware of two things. Well, two things. Number one is that Israel will not have American support forever. That's number one. Number two is that Israel also knows that Israel cannot bomb its way out of this whole thing. They know it. They know it all too well. So, what they did is from the get go, if you look into it, then you will see Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Yemen, Libya, all these countries, they have one thing in common. And what that is, that all these countries supported the Palestinian cause. And all these countries were taken out one at a time. And Iran has been dealing with sanctions for past 40 some years now. And Iran's situation is that the sadness, you can call it the unfortunate events or something, whatever you want to call it, but Iran's bad luck is that uh, Reza Pahlavi family basically supported uh, Western architecture, the West. And it is the CIA and the Western architecture that actually, it is said that they did the regime change over there by talking to Khamenei. They thought that Khamenei will better serve their interest. But I disagree on that. Okay. I disagree that CIA did it. I think CIA is given too much credit for lots of things. Or you can say credit, or you can say blame, whatever you want to call it. But I don't think the CIA is that capable. CIA doesn't even think it through, quite honestly. I think it was done by the Soviets at that time. Soviets realized that getting rid of Reza Pahlavi and letting Khamenei take over will be a lot better. Even though it may be a zero sum game, Khamenei may not be in favor of Soviets, but that's fine because Khamenei never was a Soviet fan, quite honestly. That's the reality of it. But eventually, he became Soviet fan, or you can say that supporter, as we have seen it. And and if you look into the whole regime change at that time, you find that actually Soviet had even more interest in this thing and more reasoning and more benefit by the regime change because if Iran or Reza Pahlavi and all that they had stayed, imagine what would have happened in Russia-Ukraine war. Think about it, right? So that's why I think the Soviets did it. Anyways, so Iran was economically made weak, and your we all know what happened to Jordan. Jordan got on track. Jordan are like, we don't know anything. We good people, man. Then Egyptians are like, hey, look at our pyramid. Aliens made it. We are not doing anything. Egypt were like, okay, bye bye. We don't know anyone. What Israel? Who? We don't know. So Egyptians. But for Israel, still the problem was not solved. For Israel, economic order of that region needed to go. Why? Because the way these Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, all these countries were investing into the AI and all these American markets and all that, that was just making them stronger and stronger and stronger. Now imagine an AI, the way AI is fund intensive, it requires lots and lots of money. Okay, it requires lots and lots of money. So um, if that money is being flowed or injected from the Middle East, that is also a problem for Israel, one way or the other. Why? Because then it's going to block Israeli propaganda. It's going to do lots of other bad things that may not be conducive for Israel. So I think that Israel's end game simply was that let's uh, stir the pot, take care of Iran. In return, what Iran will do is that Iran is going to bomb all the major economies in every country that's there, and it will slow down or pretty much kill the regional economy. Now, if we go look at the numbers, okay, if we go look at the numbers, then World Bank has actually projected the numbers. Let me read it for you. So, what World Bank has done is World Bank has cut the expected GCC growth from 4.4% in 2025 to 1.3% in 2026. So, regional growth, excluding Iran, is expected to fall from 4% to 1.8%. Now, in this whole thing, what's happening is the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, they're especially exposed um, because their economic model, especially, it heavily depends on what? The secure Gulf trade. They're right next to Iran. Saudi Arabia and Oman, they get to bypass. And I think that Iran is not hammering Saudi Arabia for another reason. That I think that Saudi Arabia worked with the Americans. They came up with this idea that let's involve Pakistan. Now Saudis have this defense pact or military pact with Pakistan that attack on one will be considered attack on another. So Pakistan got involved into it so that Pakistanis can convince Iranians that please, sir, please don't do it. Otherwise, we will have to get involved into it. and it's not gonna be good for you, and it's not gonna be good for us either. We are already getting whacked by TTP, and here and there India is slapping us from this side, TTP is slapping from the other side, so we cannot do anything. So please, and they played this whole mediator card, but mediator card was only for one reason. The reason was to somehow come up with some sort of negotiations so that Iranians don't bomb Saudi Arabia. That's all it was. Okay. Now, all other reasonings, and people may give you all the reasoning, but in this whole entire thing, that's the only thing that makes sense. Okay. Nothing else makes sense. You have to understand this. And so far, Iranians are holding that. They are holding their end of the bargain that, okay, we are not going to attack Saudis, but Pakistanis, they said to Pakistanis that you are not going to allow Americans to have the foot on the ground. You are not going to allow Americans to use your land to enter our territory. Now, the question really is that are Pakistanis going to do that? So only time will tell. Okay. But coming back to this whole thing. So this is why I think that that's the whole thing for Israel. Okay. Now, Israel already knows that Israel is not going to be impacted because Israel's economy and Jordan's economy, they're not actually dependent on oil. Okay. And because they're not dependent on oil, they're dependent on technology, agriculture, and all that good stuff. So they can manage. They may have a little bit of shock here and there, but they will actually manage and they will recover stronger. Okay. So anybody who thinks that the after this war is over and somehow Saudi Arabia will run the show, Pakistanis are gonna run the show, I will tell you this: keep dreaming. That's never gonna happen. Okay. Israelis are not going to stop it, and if Israelis see that somehow Saudis are still economically well-being and this and that, Saudis are gonna do something. Israelis are gonna do something into Saudi Arabia too. They're not gonna let it go. Mark my words. Okay. Now, Israelis are also facing what? Higher defense spending, reconstruction cost, and all that economic disruption and all that happened. But Israelis' economic growth is projected to be around 3.3% in 2026 and 5.6% in 2027. So Israelis are recovering way faster than the entire GCC. So what does that tell you? So the end game of this whole entire war is to what? Destroy the Gulf economy and redirect the supply chain that was coming from Hormuz to somewhere else. And if you start to look into it, what's happening already? What's happening is that countries are already diverting their supply chains. The Gulf countries that are there, they are already coming up with their own pipelines or some other projects and all that, so that they don't have to rely on Hormuz. Okay. And if you look into it, that OPEC has also started to disrupt. Okay. OPEC disruption has already started. Angola is leaving OPEC. Then UAE has left. Lots of other OPEC countries have left OPEC. Okay. And even Saudis are also now going against the OPEC guidelines and all that thing. And they're reducing their oil prices so that they can stay relevant and countries can purchase their crude. Why? Because Saudi crude is counted into their GDP. When they do the GDP calculations and all, they have to account for how much crude they are selling. So if Saudis want their GDP to be $2 trillion or $200 billion, just say that $200 billion, then that's how Saudis plan that how much oil production needs to be and how much, what should be the price of the crude. Okay, so which means that if Saudis or any other country over there, they cannot sell their crude, then it's going to impact their economy anyways. With bombing and everything else that has happened, it seems like they're not going to recover anytime soon. Okay, so for Israeli is so the end game at the end of it all. For Americans, no end game. Americans just want to save their face and bail out. Then and Donald Trump is probably thinking like, "Dear Lord, save me so that I can get out." And then once he gets out, he, oh my God, that was close. Oh, that was close call. That's what he's gonna do. Okay. Then comes Israel. Israel, as usual, like I said, Israel's end game is very simple: to destroy the economy of the Middle East so that they cannot recover. And once they cannot, so that they cannot recover, and in the meantime, Israelis can actually come up with another their weapons and other backup plans, like they are setting up all their uh, military hardware supply chain in India now, and they can come up with other alliances as well. Now, for Iran, objective will be that once all this is over, uh, Iran will eventually see benefit in signing Abraham Accord, because Iran knows that Turkey is not Iran's friend, Saudis are not Iranian friend. Only country that was actually supporting or somehow helping Iran to get by was UAE, and UAE is already part of the Abraham Accord. And it will be a win-win. Iran will see that, okay, signing Abraham Accord uh, helps them and it's gonna create a win-win situation. So instead of having trying to grab 100% of the pie and not get anything, Iran will be like, okay, let's get 20% of the pie and have that 20% of the pie. So, and share that the rest of the pie with others as in Israel and UAE and India, like that. So ultimately, the end game is this: okay, that economy is gonna be gone. It's happening. Supply chain will be gone, completely destroyed. But they will manage. No, don't take my word for a completely destroyed. Maybe it will be zero. No, completely destroyed meaning that it used to be the hubs. It's not gonna be hub anymore. Not even close. Okay. And for Iran, win-win is always only option, and only win-win is sign the Abraham Accord. Donald Trump will be happy with the Abraham Accord, and he may try to get the Nobel Peace Prize because of that. Look, I solved the problem that I created. And Israelis will be happy that they have Iran on their or say at least not a threat as such. And anybody else will be suffering due to bad economy and all, and they would not even attempt to do any such thing. Okay, that's how it's gonna play out ultimately. Other than that, I'm not seeing any end to it the way it is, unless American economy completely collapses because of this. Okay, it has happened in the past. Look at Soviet Union. The Soviet Union collapsed its economy because of the Cold War. I'm wondering if Donald Trump is planning to collapse the entire American economy due to Iran war. Now, collapsing the economy, American economy could actually help Americans or America to uh, tackle the national debt problem, and but that's going to lead to hyperinflation and all that before. So the question is that, will Donald Trump even be that capable? Will he want that kind of situation? Only time will tell. But so far, this is my thesis on this, and this is it. I hope you guys like the video. Please do like and subscribe, and please do let me know what do you think. Okay, because I am not seeing anything past this point. All right, and this is it. And I'll talk to you guys in another video. Take care.